All right, so get this. OpenAI has these new models, right? They're called O1 and O1 Mini, and apparently they can actually reason. And I know, I know, we hear that a lot these days. New AI, it can reason, blah, blah, blah. But hold on, because the examples this time around are actually pretty mind-blowing. Like, we're talking deciphering secret codes, even navigating the crazy world of quantum physics, wild stuff. So we've been digging into OpenAI's blog posts, some super in-depth YouTube breakdowns, all that good stuff. And our big question today is O1 the real deal or just hype? And more importantly, what could it mean for, the average person? Luckily, I've got our AI expert here to help me make sense of it all. So when we talk about an AI that can reason, what does that even mean? Most of us, we just, think things through. How does that work for a computer?
Yeah, it's not like this AI is like pondering the meaning of life or anything. When we talk about reasoning in AI, we're really talking about this very specific type of problem solving. Imagine you're trying to solve a puzzle. You wouldn't just shout out random guesses, right?
Hopefully not.
Right. You break the problem down, look for patterns, use logic to figure it out. That's kind of what OpenAI is going for with O1.
Okay, but how is that different from other AI? I mean, they process information, they solve problems.
So that's where this idea of chain of thought comes in. Imagine the AI writing down its thought process as it works, like you might jot down notes.
Oh,
It's creating this chain of logical steps, almost like a flow chart, to get to the answer.
so it's not just remembering stuff, it's like actually figuring things out.
Exactly.
Are we sure there's not just like a tiny human brain hidden in there somewhere? Whoa! Well, as sure as we can be with all this crazy tech. But that brings up a good question. How did O1 even learn to think this way?
Yeah, like where did it pick that up?
And get this, it kind of taught itself.
Hold on, what? Taught itself. Okay, I think we've officially entered the how is this even possible part of our deep dive. Break it down for me.
So it all boils down to this thing called reinforcement learning. Basically, you give the AI a problem and a bunch of possible actions it can take.
Right.
If it takes an action that gets it closer to the solution reward, if it goes off track penalty, it's learning through trial and error, kind of like we do.
Like training a dog with treats, but instead of treats, it's like solving a physics problem.
Exactly. And by doing this millions of times, it starts to come up with its own strategies for solving problems. That's where that reasoning ability shows up. Okay, that is both incredibly cool and also, honestly, a little bit terrifying. What happens when, AI can think for itself?
I know, it's a little unnerving, right? And researchers are definitely thinking about those implications.
Okay, good.
But instead of jumping ahead, let's bring it back to O1. Let's look at some specific examples of what this reasoning ability actually looks like in action.
Yes, please. I need some concrete examples because right now this is all feeling very abstract. Let's start with this code breaking thing because you mentioned a Korean cipher that really put O1 through its paces.
Oh, yeah.
And I'll admit, when I read that part, I might have gasped out loud. It was like something straight out of a movie.
It was pretty wild. One of the YouTubers we're looking at came up with this really clever challenge.
Okay, so set the stage for me. What made this cipher so tough for AI to crack?
So unlike English, where letters are like individual building blocks, Korean combines vowels and consonants in specific ways to create characters.
So it's already more complex than just like recognizing the letter A versus B. Got it.
Exactly. So this cipher took those elements and scrambled them up, gibberish to AI models, but a Korean speaker could eventually figure it out.
Sneaky. So how did O1 handle that compared to, the other AIs out there?
Well, you're going to notice a pattern here, TPT-4o, which was like the big deal. Until very recently, it totally struck out. Couldn't crack it.
Really?
It's like imagine trying to solve a jigsaw puzzle, but there's no picture on the box,
Oh, yeah.
Total chaos. But O1, it took a different approach. Instead of just trying every combination, it actually tried to break down those scrambled characters, kind of like a human would.
So it was actually using decryption techniques. Okay,
Yeah.
now that's impressive.
Yeah, the YouTuber who made it was blown away. They designed it to be like extra hard for AI, but O1 not only deciphered it, it translated the whole thing perfectly.
Wow. Okay, color me impressed. So we've gone from secret codes to like the secrets of the universe, right? Let's talk about those quantum physics applications because even with my notes, I'm still wrapping my head around this one.
Yeah, this is where it gets really exciting, especially for like researchers dealing with these crazy complex math problems all the time.
Okay.
And you don't need a PhD to get why this is a big deal. Just imagine, right? You've got this super complicated math problem, but instead of numbers, you're dealing with these like abstract concepts that govern how tiny particles behave.
Okay, so we're already in brain-melting territory. Where does O1 come in?
So they basically asked O1 to apply certain mathematical operations. Think of them like tools for manipulating quantum information.
Yeah.
And these are notoriously difficult to work with, even for like humans who specialize in this stuff.
Right, right. So did O1 handle it?
It didn't just handle it, it crushed it. Like gave them step-by-step calculations, accurate, and it actually seemed to get the underlying quantum mechanics.
Wow. Okay. You mentioned earlier that GPT-4o struggled with the code. Did it even come close to this quantum physics problem?
Not even close. GPT-4o, it just got lost in the weeds. It couldn't do that step-by-step reasoning, apply those really complex math tools in a way that made sense.
This is really making me think about the possibilities, especially for like scientific research and stuff. And we've been talking about O1, but you also mentioned O1 Mini, the slightly less powerful but way more affordable version. How does that stack up?
Yeah, and that's actually huge. It's not just about the reasoning power, it's also about making it accessible, which O1 Mini really does. It's like 80% cheaper to run.
Okay, so you're saying same level of performance, just like a fraction of the cost.
So it might not write you a poem or anything,
Right.
but in those specific areas, especially STEM stuff, it's shown it can hold its own. It's like having this specialized tool that's way better than those general purpose AIs for certain tasks.
Okay, that's really interesting. Can you give me a real world example of where that cost efficiency could be a game changer?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Imagine a small research team, right? Limited budget. They're trying to develop some new material which involves a ton of complex calculations, simulations, all that. In the past, this kind of AI power would have been totally out of reach.
Yeah.
But with O1 Mini, they suddenly have access to it. And it's not just research. We could see this impacting startups, schools, even artists using AI tools. The possibilities are huge.
It's like we're on the verge of like AI designing our cities and curing diseases. But before we get too far ahead of ourselves, let's talk about the potential downsides. Every superhero, right? They got their weakness. What's O1's kryptonite? What are we missing here?
It's a good way to put it. And yeah, no technology is perfect. One big one with O1, as good as it is in these specific areas, it doesn't have that broad general knowledge that some of those bigger language models have.
So we're not going to see it writing poetry or like composing symphonies anytime soon.
Probably not. It's more of a specialist than a generalist. You wouldn't use a scalpel to chop wood, right?
Right.
OpenAI actually did this really interesting study where they had people compare the output of O1 and GPT-4o.
Yeah.
Things like writing stories, summarizing complex articles.
Yeah.
People still preferred GPT-4o for those more like creative big picture tasks.
Makes sense.
Which makes sense, right? It's trained on way more data, text, code, all that.
So it's like a trade-off, right? We're giving up some of that general knowledge, that broad ability for these super focused reasoning skills. But even then, this level of AI reasoning, it's got to come with some ethical questions, right? Like, what happens when AI gets too good at thinking for itself?
100%.
Okay.
And that's something OpenAI is really thinking about. To their credit, one thing they're exploring is this concept of, and this sounds kind of ominous, hiding the chain of thought.
Okay, that does sound a little ominous. Is that like keeping Owen's thought process a secret?
Kind of, yeah. The idea is to prevent like bad actors from reverse engineering how O1 reasons and then using that to manipulate it or, do something shady.
That makes sense. Keep it out of the wrong hands. So it's like putting safeguards in place to make sure this powerful tool is used, for good.
Exactly. It's a balancing act, right? We want to make these AI capabilities available, but we also need to be smart about the risks and put those safety measures in place.
I like it. So we've spent a good chunk of time with O1, its capabilities, its limitations, the ethics of it all. What's the one big takeaway you want our listeners to walk away with?
I think it's this. O1 is a potential game changer for AI. It's a glimpse into a future where AI can actually reason, not just process. And that has huge implications for so many fields.
No doubt, this is a big deal. And we need to be cautious, thoughtful, all of that, but also excited about the doors this could open. So to everyone listening, we hope you've enjoyed this deep dive into the world of O1. And until next time, keep those minds curious.